Hi, Teacherpreneur friends. We're back, and Jess is chowing down on some apple, like a giant apple as big as her head. Check us out on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. We're trying to grow our presence on YouTube. So please go look at that. And today, oh my gosh, your hair is adorable, by the way, Jess. Today, you guys all have to go check us out on YouTube to see Jess's adorable teacher hair. We are talking about 5 tips, and actually maybe more, thanks to ChatGPT, 5 tips for teacherpreneurs who are still in the classroom and they are trying to grow their business part-time. By the way, if you're on YouTube, every time that we pause and do namaste, it's just for podcasting editing purposes. That's when our fun intro starts and our little music. So anyways, okay, do you want to talk about the first tip, Jess? I can't even remember what it is. Let's look at our outline. Oh, this one is triggering for me. So why don't you talk about it and then I'll talk about why.
Okay, let me go back to the outline so I can see it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Setting time goals. So here's what I was thinking with this one is, and the first one I worded this because we were brainstorming these topics just yesterday. And when I was thinking about it, I was just kind of thinking about Shelley Reese has this course for teacherpreneurs, and she talks about using little tiny snippets of your day that you can still do things. Like if you only have 15 minutes before school, you could do a little something on your business in those 15 minutes, or maybe you only have 10 minutes until you have to go pick your kids up somewhere. You could be doing something for your business in those 10 minutes. Like you don't have to just sit down and plug away for 4, 5, 10-hour chunks on your business. You can chunk it throughout the day, little tiny, chunks of time, and still have a huge impact on your business. And that always kind of stuck with me because a lot of times I'm like, well, what day am I going to work on my business? Am I going to sit at my computer all day Saturday morning and not do anything fun and then just work away at my laptop? Well, it's kind of you don't have to do that. A lot of teacherpreneurs, they work all night on their computers or all weekend. You could find a way to balance your time. And I think that was kind of triggering for Amanda because she does tend to be sort of a workaholic. I can call you that, right, Amanda? Like you get too involved in your work and you don't have any free time, or you don't set yourself aside any relaxation time or leisure time,
Well,
right?
and that's because I love working on my business. I am very passionate about it. And so I'm not someone that doesn't put in the time, I know there are people out there that are listening that maybe have a hard time sitting down and getting things done for their business. That's not me. And maybe there's someone listening, but I feel like I'm taking this tip maybe a little differently. So for me, I'm thinking this would be a great way to limit the amount that I'm working on it. So if I decide I want to work on my business 5 hours a week, for example, and I can figure out when like those little windows of time are and just designate that time and shut it down when it's not that time. And so it's helpful for people who maybe procrastinate, but it's also helpful for people who are workaholics.
Yeah, and you know what I was thinking, how we were going to kind of be TPT accountability buddies. Like both me and Amanda, we work on several different businesses and parts of our businesses all the time. And a lot of times we're not really focused on Teachers Pay Teachers. So I was thinking, although Teachers Pay Teachers consistently makes us money every month, a lot of times
Passively.
we're not, yeah, a lot of times we're not very focused on that because we're kind of we're darting all over the place. We're exploring many passions, right? We like to explore many passions. So what I was thinking personally, and we had talked about this a couple of weeks ago for us, is we should really carve out certain, hours of the week just for Teachers Pay Teachers, since we do get so sidetracked or we're doing other things. Since Teachers Pay Teachers has made us a nice little comfortable passive income, it only makes sense to keep on investing in building our Teachers Pay Teacher stores. But it's one of those things that we both do struggle with keeping up, because we have so many other passions, and sometimes other passions are just more fun or exciting than just plugging away at a Teachers Pay Teachers product or fixing little things in our store. And I think that's just because we like to be transparent on the show. I mean, we're telling all, and this is where we're at in our businesses right now.
Yeah, I do procrastinate when it comes to Teachers Pay Teachers. Like, I had some grand goals about taking my huge products and breaking them up. And I did really well with that for a few months. And actually, what's crazy, I'm in YDP, and all of those little tiny products that I created in those few months are doing very well.
Really? So your idea is a hit, but you haven't executed the whole thing out yet, right?
No. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and even in my head, I'm thinking I do, and I still haven't followed through with making time for Teachers Pay Teachers, but I've been going through a lot recently. So I've been really kind of stepping back from work a little bit and trying to take care of myself and my family. And I think that's actually a tip right there. Like, be okay with putting it aside sometimes when you're feeling overwhelmed or burned out, or you're going through something really hard, because teaching is so draining. And so you have to, when you're doing it full time, allow yourself that space to just put it on hold for a little while. And I'm okay with that, because I do think that you really need a lot of support, and you need a lot of good people around you. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, to be able to teach full time and have a side business. Yeah. So what's our next?
Do we want to look at number 2? Let's go see what it is. Number 2. Oh, this is the best business advice I think I ever got. And it's kind of like whatever business you're into, whatever you do as your side hustle. I think this is sort of something that you're going to hear a lot, but maybe you haven't gone to a bunch of conferences like we have. I mean, that's one reason that we started this little show, so we could share the things that we've learned that have really worked for us. But I got this tip so many years ago, and it was basically to use like time that you could multitask. So we're looking at time you could multitask with listening, like driving, cleaning, doing, kind of mindless chores, or working out. You could be listening to audiobooks and podcasts and learning new things that could help grow your business. I mean, it's like free education. The world of podcasts, it's like a free university out there of information from people. And maybe right now that's what you're doing. You could be listening to this podcast and multitasking. That's wonderful. But you can also, I have kind of gone a little bit astray from a lot of podcasts. I'm listening to more audiobooks now, because I feel like I get a lot out of an audiobook. It's like a complete story, but it is like the same as a podcast. It's just some of that interaction is gone. I learn a lot from both, though. A lot of them, every time I listen for a good half an hour, and I've been doing it as I'm falling asleep at night, like before bed. My husband likes to watch TikToks before he falls asleep, and they're very annoying because they're like every 30 seconds, it's a new little noise. And so I got noise canceling headphones, and now I am listening to different podcasts and audiobooks. And I used to just kind of play on my phone. I used to scroll social media, kind of do the same thing he was doing, but I wasn't on TikTok. And I used to just, I don't know, I guess just sort of daydream a little bit. I didn't really have like this bedroom routine where I was like, oh, some people journal, and I think that's really therapeutic and helpful. But I'm really enjoying like maybe like a half an hour each night before I go to bed, I'm listening to an audiobook, and I get so much out of it. I used to commute like 40 minutes. I was in the car each day, so I would be getting my audiobook time during my commute. But now I don't have a commute. I only work a mile from my house. So like I'm fine, but I'm missing that time I was spending in the car listening and learning. I kind of miss that now. So anyway, I just think it's a good idea. And I know that you listen to a lot of podcasts, and you had some good ones, some good tips from your podcast this week. Do you want to
Yeah.
share
Well,
that?
that's all I did yesterday. I was in my yard. It's just a happy place for me, weeding. And I had Aria outside with me, and we found this really cool like salamander. And we were digging for like bugs to feed the salamander. But I was listening to a podcast I just discovered, and I love it because I'm really into listening to stuff about ADHD because I was just diagnosed with ADHD like a month ago. And it's been life-changing discovering that I have ADHD. And I think we should definitely do a whole episode about that. But it's called The Driven Woman with Diane Wingert. And she is wonderful. And she's a coach for women entrepreneurs who may have ADHD or not, but she's amazing. And yeah, I have wireless headphones that I listen, and I sometimes I have on my laptop. I'll connect my headphones to my laptop. I love Bluetooth, and I'll listen to courses or even like YouTube channels. Like I'm really into this YouTube channel, The Healthy Gamer. He's so good. He's a psychiatrist, I think, who studied at Harvard. I think yeah, and he's so smart and down to earth, and he's doing a lot of good, I think, for kids and adults who are neurodivergent, and just lots of really great information. But I know not everyone can listen to this stuff. Like I've talked to people who they can't pay attention. Like they're just not I'm an auditory learner. I mean, it's just, I'm very good at paying attention to audio, but some people can't. So I don't know. What do you think? Like, this isn't really a tip for someone who maybe can't pay attention and do the dishes at the same time to an audiobook.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to listen to music all the time during that time. I still have my music time, right? So, yeah, it's definitely not a tip for everyone, but it was just a tip that I was like, and I feel like teachers as a whole, and I think I've read some stuff on this, how the teaching profession attracts people that are traditionally good at school, or at least like going to school and like taking classes.
Mhm.
So I think in order to like school and go to school and take classes and learn more, and unfortunately, you're kind of forced to listen. So I think that teachers are good listeners, but I understand some people out there, it might not be for them. And then that's just, that's not a tip that'll work for you, but I
Well,
don't know.
here's one that might work. Can I talk about the next one? So this is
Yeah.
tip number
Yeah.
3. Tip number 3 is embrace new technologies. For example, ChatGPT. So you can actually, like, if you have a problem in your business, you can ask ChatGPT for advice. Like if you want to learn something, you can ask ChatGPT for advice. And we actually asked ChatGPT. I asked, what did I say? I think I asked the question, what are some tips you can give a teacherpreneur who is still teaching full time and wants to grow her business? That's what I asked. And ChatGPT, within a minute, cranked out pretty much everything we're going to talk about in this episode, but more. So I don't want to read everything, but the first thing is set clear goals, identify what you want to achieve, and mention SMART goals to help you stay focused and motivated. Manage your time wisely. Balancing a full-time teaching job and growing a business can be challenging, so you need to prioritize, set aside time, specific times, create a schedule. One thing that's not on our list that ChatGPT came up with was leverage social media. So it can be a very powerful tool for branding and promoting your business. I'm going to stop because the rest I think we are going to talk about. So ChatGPT actually copied us.
Yeah, ChatGPT really nailed it this time. They really, we wrote a list of 5 or 6 things and we asked ChatGPT, and it was pretty similar. The 5 or 6 things we didn't mention social media, because I think right now we're both feeling a little yuck on social media. We're not like loving social media right now, but everything else was like an exact match. It was crazy.
Well, with social media, I feel like a lot of people need to expand their idea of what social media is, because I think teacherpreneurs think it's Instagram, it's Facebook, but it's also podcasting. It's also Google. Like just Google and SEO could be considered social media. So if you're blogging, and that is social media, in my opinion, or even like YouTube. So I think we need to like expand our definition of what social media is, because like those things count too, right? So we are doing social media. We're doing it right now, like having a podcast. And I don't think many people think of social media in that way. So just wanted to bring that up. Okay, I love our next one. Do you want to?
But I'm not on the sheet, so you read it. What is it?
Okay. Don't listen to the gurus who tell you all these things. And I actually have a story about this. So I think it was 2018. And when I say the gurus, should I name names, or what do you think?
I mean, there's so many gurus, because there's gurus in the Teachers Pay Teachers world, but then there's the gurus you listen to in the TPT world are listening to gurus in the the marketing
B2B.
world, right?
Mhm.
In the media marketing, social media marketing world. There's even a conference called Social Media Marketing World.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a really big one. But I mean, those people get a lot of their ideas. It kind of like their ideas sprinkle down. And so there are some really big business gurus that give advice that sort of everyone listens to and respects that advice. And we've had a lot of juicy conversations about these people the last couple of weeks, I think. But yeah, tell us was it a revelation kind of, or
Sometimes I think we get so convinced of these people because their sales pages are so convincing, and we believe them. We think, yes, this is it. This is the answer. This is going to make me money if I just do XYZ. If I just follow their formula from beginning to end, it will work. And it's not always true. Like it might not work for you. It might not work for that time period, because teaching is so seasonal. There's just so many factors involved in like their system, like quote unquote, working for you. And that's actually why I love this new podcast I discovered, because she talks a lot about that, the driven woman, and um, how you have to really build your business around your own strengths, and like really get clear on why are you doing this, and like who are you, what are your gifts, and and I think a lot of us go into this because we're passionate about it, but we're not marketers, we're we're not salespeople, we're just teachers. And so my story is, in 2018, I signed up, I threw down thousands of dollars for a program, and I won't name names. And I very much still respect this person. And I know that a lot of the things that these gurus are telling us work, and can work for many people, and worked for them, and I don't think most of these people are just out to make money. I think they truly do help um, people who don't know what they're doing. But I think a lot of times they portray it as simple, and if you just follow my formula, you will be successful. and I think that's a little untrue because I did follow this person's formula to a T. I did every single thing that this person told me to do. And by the end of it, I was so burned out and so tired because I was already teaching full time. So I went into it 2018. I signed up in the summer and I just totally just followed everything that summer. I worked so hard. And then I went into the school year with a full-time teaching job and a full-time business. So I had listened to this person and it got me in deep water because I had a full-time business too. And so I was juggling way too much and I was taking my business way too seriously at that point, on top of teaching full-time, on top of all the things as a mother and a wife. And I burned myself out. And I realize now that I just bit way more off than I could chew, so like making these big investments, going all in, I just think we have to be careful with ourselves. So what do you think?
Yeah. And oh man, I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Okay.
One, I think that a lot of these people are marketing gurus and they're selling you their marketing tips so you can then sell more marketing tips, right? Like it's like this weird cycle where they're like, if you pay a lot of money for my tips, then you could sell your own tips for a lot of money, and then the next people you sell to could sell their tips for money. It's like it gets really weird in marketing, getting advice from other people, because what works for one person doesn't necessarily always work for another. And I think also as teacherpreneurs, like maybe we can see people very clearly who are very successful, maybe more successful than us, and then we want to be like that person, and or we want what they have. Like there's always that grass is always greener kind of story that is peddled in this small business marketing world, and everyone's always chasing what's next and they want that next big thing. And I just think that every business is different, just like every student in our classroom is different and needs a different approach and needs a different way of learning, like adapts differently to a classroom environment and maybe needs a little tweak on how you're talking to that person. Like everyone, I think your businesses need that too. They need like a personalized approach, and you don't really get a personalized approach in these sales funnels. And then I think they end up taking more time away from your business. Like even though they convince you that you're growing your business, and if you do XYZ, really you're just kind of following their formula and you're doing a bunch of their homework, and then you're falling into more sales traps from them, and you're spending, sooner or later you start spending more time on their courses and their sales pages than you do your own. And I think that's where it's like a slippery slope, is how do you take a little bit of advice, improve your business, and keep working on your business. It's really hard. And so I also just think one thing you told me a while ago really stuck with me that has to do with this is like, I had asked you, we had reconnected last summer, and I think I had asked you, like, how did you like how did you get like this, you did have quite some growth in your business, like you kind of found a strategy that worked, and you had told me it wasn't until you hired a business coach that you really got it. So
Yep.
like, what does a business coach do? That's like individual attention for you, like that's like a personalized one-on-one. And I think we both kind of like this idea now of business coaches a little bit more than a one size fits all course, like in a box.
Yeah, no, and that I will name drop. Kelly Wise is so wise. I love her, and she's has the biggest heart, and she taught me so much, and a lot of what she knows is through James Wedmore. She was actually on his podcast, and she had made a lot of money with one webinar launch, and so I learned about how to create sales funnels, specifically webinar sales funnels and growing a membership through webinars. What I've learned since is I've just learned a lot about myself through all of this, and I don't regret any of it, even though I really burned myself out. I've learned that, I really get very excited very easily about things. And I have to be careful with that. Like, I have to be careful with myself because I can jump into something and overwork and burn myself out. And webinars are a lot to organize all on your own, to design a sales funnel for it, all the emails, the sales page, the actual webinar, the post emails. And it's very draining. And it's, and like, I have RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I am very, very hypersensitive to other people's opinions of me. And now that I'm aware of it, like, I'm more careful with my sensitivities, and like but like doing webinars, that's like really putting yourself out there, and it is very draining. And there have been times when I've broken out in hives. Like one time I before a webinar, I broke out in hives, and like during the webinar, I had hives all over my face. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm just, a little nervous. And I mean, everyone loves me during the webinars because I'm very authentic, and very enthusiastic. And people are always like, thank you. And I do enjoy them, but I just have to be careful about it. And do it when I'm really like centered and peaceful and like, not overworking myself. And I was like doing a webinar every month, and it works. It makes you money, but it's so much work. And I think teacherpreneurs got to be careful about overworking themselves and like, making sure they're prioritizing other things like their family and exercise and just relaxing.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the point of this list, is that a lot of people, they have trouble finding time to work on what works for them, and they can get easily sidetracked on other paths. And it's not saying the other paths don't work, but don't fool yourself that they're easier than
Yeah.
you just plugging away at your Teachers Pay Teacher store, right? Don't fool yourself that like, oh, well, this looks way easier because this is only a couple steps. I can do it. Or this person is, I mean, everyone trying to convince you to do that stuff is trying to get you in their sales funnel. And sometimes, it might not be exactly what you need for your business at the time, right?
Well, I know a lot of teacherpreneurs also, they spend a lot of time creating a product, they upload it, and then no one buys it. And I think that's super sad too. And so I think, yeah, that's rough. And I've done that. I have many products that no one has ever bought, and I've spent a lot of time on them. So I wonder, maybe we should do an episode about that. Like, how do you make sure that you're building a product that people actually want?
That's really hard because sometimes with the TPT algorithm now, it can be kind of hit or miss. You could do like everything that someone tells you to do, and it still might not be enough sometimes.
Well, I think we need to remember too, here's my answer to that question. When a teacher is on Teachers Pay Teachers, they're usually desperate and they need something that's going to be quick and easy and fun. And I think any product that's like that is probably going to do well. And that's the
Yeah.
platform,
And
or
for
they're looking for
me,
like a unit or something.
I have a Teachers Pay Teachers store. I think I have like 160 products, maybe like 150 products. But I'm just going to be honest with you, as a full-time teacher, I teach 27 classes a week. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade. I have not made enough curriculum on my own to keep those people happy. So I teach 700 students on any given week. That's a lot of people that I am trying to juggle and work with each week and make sure that my hour with them goes smoothly. And I have personally, in the last 10 years, I have bought 1,500 Teachers Pay Teachers products. That's how many are in my library. And I mean, I do often go in and I have kind of an idea of like what I want that day, but sometimes I do go and search like, quick, easy. And a lot of the craziest thing that I do is that a lot of the things that I buy are things I could easily make. Like things I could easily make myself, but because of my workload is so insane that I have like 27 classes, 3 tutoring groups. So I have 30 classes a week, no breaks in between the classes, not even a minute for passing period. I mean, there's no passing period. When I finish my 1 hour lesson, my next class is lined up at the door waiting to come in while I'm trying to get the other class to leave. And I really do like, so I can relate to not only the buying side, but like also the creator side, right? Like, so I've had a Teachers Pay Teachers store for many years, but I do end up buying a little bit more each month than not that I sell a lot more than I end up buying, but I do buy a lot of products every month because it is kind of a bonkers profession. So, I mean, and this is why I think like we really can't have too many TPT products. Like, I think some people think, well, maybe I shouldn't be continually working on Teachers Pay Teachers, but I'm telling you, as someone that owns 1,500 products, that is crazy to me. Like, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why do I keep doing this? But
You're
like, I
good.
need them so bad. I need certain things so
Well,
bad sometimes. Even though I create all my own curriculum in my library, I still need Teachers Pay Teachers. So that's, I mean, there is a need out there. It just might be tweaking some things, in your products to make people find it easier. That's what I think the real thing is. Make people like me, who's a creator myself, who still needs stuff, to find the stuff easier. I think that's where it's at.
Like, yeah, do you mean like SEO, like keywords and stuff, like being mindful and smart about the keywords you're using, your
I would say
career?
when I audit, because I had a side business auditing people's stores, and I still occasionally get customers. I get like 1 or 2 people a year who find this really old blog post from 10 years ago when I was a TPT store auditor, and they'll hire me. And I'm like, sure, I can go in and look at your TPT store and tell you what I do different. And usually 90% of the time, I just find that people's titles are not very searchable for what teachers are searching.
Yeah.
I think it's the SEO. 1,000% of the time, I'm just like, why would anyone get on and search that? It's just, and it's just, I think it's hard when you're creating things. Like, you might be really passionate. One of my clients was a music teacher, and they were creating like these reports, like these like projects of different musicians. And I was just thinking, I didn't even know who some of the musicians were. Like, I would never search those names. But if I had to sub in a music class, which I have had to do as the librarian, right? If I had to go and sub in a music room and I need a lesson really quick, I kind of know what I would type to look for, fun, easy, quick music lesson, 2nd grade. Bam. And those are the lessons that I buy on Teachers Pay Teachers. And that's the advice that I gave to this particular store. There was some cover issues, not being able to see certain things on the cover, understanding what it was, but it's mainly like the title. It wasn't coming up in any of the searches, because sometimes I think people can be a little too specific because they're passionate about what they're selling. And I think there's some people making the mistake of being too broad, and then there's some people making the mistake of being a little too specific. You want that just right bite. And that's what I do, when I was doing my TPT store audits, is I would give people recommendations for their just right bite, which is funny, is I got a apple next to me on YouTube with, I think there could be a bite taken out of it. I'm not really sure. It could just be the way the light's hitting it. But anyway, I feel like we've gone really off track,
Okay,
but
that's okay.
it's fine.
Number 5, do we want to end with our 5th tip for part-time teacherpreneurs?
Yes.
Okay, I'll say it. It is join a teacherpreneur community. And there are lots of them out there. Some of them them are a little divisive and like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of some of them. I think
I know
that,
which ones you're talking about.
yeah, I just think some of them can get so negative. So I think we should add a positive, kind, um, teacherpreneur community. And Voxer, I love Voxer. I feel like I have multiple people that I talk to on Voxer that are teacherpreneurs. And so, downloading the Voxer app, going to Teachers Pay Teachers conferences to meet other fellow teacherpreneur friends. I think that having teacherpreneur friends is really, really important. And it kind of happens naturally. And Jess, do you want to talk about this as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I actually talked to a lot of my buddies. I talk to them. I have a huge group of teacherpreneur friends on Instagram. We just have a group chat, and
Mhm.
then Boxer, and then Marco Polo is like a video app. And even me and you have talked on Marco Polo, I think, a while ago.
Mhm.
But anyway, I did meet my first Teachers Pay Teachers buddies. I met some through the forums, and I heard they're redoing the forums because IXL has purchased Teachers Pay Teachers, and one thing on their to-do list is make better forums. So my very first friends I met on the TPT forums, something that you can go look up. And then going to the Teachers Pay Teachers conferences, I'm still like my first buddy ever. Like we hang out at almost every conference still, and we're Facebook friends, and we've hung out in real life. You know who she is, Lopez, Susan Lopez.
IRL. Oh, I love
Yeah.
Lopez.
I met her at my first TPT conference before anyone before anyone even knew that I was like whimsical teacher or I had an online presence. Like I might have even still been, my first store name was the Word Girl. That was my first TPT store. So I might have even been in that phase. I don't remember. It was like 7 years ago. I met Lopez and we're still buddies, right?
Wait,
And
can I say something real
yeah,
quick? Social media is a place to find friends too, because we met on Periscope and I was like obsessed with you. I thought you were so awesome because you had like the funniest, we would watch other people's Periscopes and you were hilarious. And I was just like, this girl is, I like her. Like I want to be friends with her. I think I
I
might have even
got a
messaged
tip
you and said,
once.
can we be
Is
friends?
like I got this tip for like how do you meet teacherpreneur friends? And someone gave me the tip, go to accounts that you like or like activities you like, Twitter chats, back then it was Periscope, Instagram posts or TikTok posts, and start seeing who's commenting things that you like what they're saying. Like those are your people. Like if you're drawn to the same accounts and you're both commenting on the same people, and maybe those people don't even notice you, right? Because usually those people are going to be kind of popular and people are commenting on their stuff, and those are your people though, the people in the comments of people that you like or people that you watch and follow are the people that should be your peers, because they're also drawn to those personalities for a reason, or that video, or even YouTube comments, social media comments. Look at the comment section, and a lot of times you're going to find people that would be your best business partners. And that's probably how I did meet a lot of my buddies on social media, is through
Yeah,
the comment
the
section. Yeah.
comments. Well, and I want to wrap up and just say that if you're listening to this podcast, you're in our teacherpreneur community. I know we haven't met, we haven't talked yet. But if you're someone who's listening, and I know we have, I look at our analytics and we do have regular listeners, and you're in our community, and we have been talking a lot. We're being very careful about how much we're taking on, because just recording these episodes and planning them, I mean, it's super fun and that's why we're doing it, but it takes time, right? And we have been, talking a lot about bringing our podcast listeners together in some form or another. So keep listening because we'll announce when we have kind of we have something in the works, but like I said, we're being careful because Jess is very overwhelmed right now with her job. Obviously, she's got a lot on her plate, and I have a lot on my plate. So, but in the future, we are definitely thinking about creating a community for our podcast listeners. So keep listening.
Yeah, and I think both of our, like, if we had a dream in life, we would love to get people together so they can find, mastermind groups and teacherpreneur friends and, business acquaintances, and just like that human connection piece that is so missing in digital businesses. Sometimes, like when you have digital products and you're online, sometimes you're missing that human connection. Like I think about it, like, in the olden days, you think about people setting up little mom and pop grocery stores and people on a street, setting up businesses, and how those people must have been, acquaintances and friends, and like in a network and in a neighborhood. Like I think our ultimate goal would be having like our own neighborhood of teacherpreneur frenzies, right? That are like, like people that, like you have a community, you have people that you can talk to, because it can be very isolating being an online entrepreneur. And yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying what's coming, I'm just saying that if it's one of our dreams, obviously it'll happen someday.
Obviously. And I want to, I mean, and I think this happens naturally in businesses where you attract people who are similar, and I'm very attracted to people who are authentic and who are kind of weird and who, are themselves and funny, like and if that's you and you're listening, then I want to meet you because I really like people like that. Yeah, like
Well,
you.
I really like you, Amanda.
Okay, we better wrap it up. We've been
Yeah.
talking forever.
All right.
Toodles.
Toodles.
All right.